Hey, hello. Yeah, it's Blue Lightning Software. Going to wanted to look at some more Unreal Engine. This is what actually, without even opening Unreal Engine, I've just been looking at this today. There's the documentation. What's new? This is where I would begin most stuff. Understanding the basics of so I took a look at this earlier. It's really interesting. Just going through it, installing foundational knowledge editor, this kind of stuff that we looked at in the last one. You can kind of work that stuff out. This was interesting. Coordinate system. They've even got graphs. So this is it. X is backwards and forwards. It's kind of exactly, how could you do it exactly different to Unity's? In the sense it's very similar, but Unity, this X is this green, where the green is here, but it will be blue. So left to right on Unity is X, and then up and down is Y, and back to front is Z. But this is what we can see here if you're just looking at this, that front to back is, back to front is X, left to right is Y, and up and down is Z. So it's almost exactly different. So that's all you need to know, really. There's a bit about world space and local space, obviously. How you can fix this thing if you press this global button here, this one. I don't really read these. Mathematical foundations, units of measurement, it's just empirical. Content browser. Obviously I find it easier to look through these in the game, but you can see that everything's there. In terms of the content. Filters and collections, all kinds of stuff, advanced searches, if you get into that. Customizing, okay, I read this a bit. If you want to work with plugins, you kind of set them in here. The main take home being that you want to save and and reopen the Unreal Engine. What are these projects and templates? It's pretty straightforward. It's just like opening those templates, blah blah blah. I mean, obviously I'd have a good read through this before we start this, because I've not started yet, so I'm just kind of looking through it. So I would go about it, just reading this. AI system. Well, hold on. Is that the next section? Let's go understand the basics. Content browser, projects and templates, playing and simulating. Did it just jump straight to yeah, projects and templates, project settings. Yes, engine. So I didn't actually look through this earlier. This is like a reference of the engine, which is probably really interesting. AI. This means like NPC AI. That's what that sounds like. Perception, etc. Animation. I haven't really looked through these at all. Collision control. Yeah, I looked through these at one time. That looks like a bit more of a deep dive. Well, a very superficial dive into all of the different concepts that we can see. Some of that we saw the other day, just like the name of them. It's probably, I didn't have a chance to look through this, but the world partition, interesting concept. Some stuff to look at. The editor, 2D appearance, blueprint, class viewer, derived data, hierarchical lord, all this kind of stuff. I missed this section actually when I flicked through it earlier. So there is a performance thing like in Unity. The interesting thing was platform plugins, some platforms to look plugins to look at. I guess these would be the ones that come with Unreal themselves, that are not necessarily on by default, but you can add them as plugins, I guess. This Niagara, the FX system. Have a look at that. UDP messaging, all this kind of stuff. Levels, it's coming from Unity. These are like the scenes. That was quite interesting. Working with the levels, you know, so like scenes in Unity, you can create these levels, add them to, I mean, they are scenes, but add them to a world. It's like I've got to get into it because I've never actually tried it out much, but this is how it seems that Unreal works, by build on levels within a world that can stream it. There's something called a world partition that is going on somewhere that I have to learn about that later on. Assets and content, how to input those. Actors and geometry. Actors, this was interesting. So everything that you add to a level is an actor, if that makes sense. It's, you know, just like an empty game object almost in Unity, except actors are built up. You kind of build upon actors. There seems to be a concept of the actor as something you can add components to. I mean, it probably explains it in better language. Any object that can be placed into as a diagram somewhere as well. But, you know, I'm totally speaking as someone who's used to Unity, that the actor is a game object of a certain type that can have components built upon it, if that makes sense. So it's the actor is actually dropped on a scene and then you add components to it. That totally makes sense. Let's have a look, because components are separate. Oops, getting stuck. Describe. When you add a component, a spotlight component will make your actor emit light like a spotlight. So, you know, these components are added to an actor. Actors reference, mesh actors, static mesh actors, skeletal mesh actors, brush actors, light actors, directional light, all these things that have actors, camera actors. We've got a page about them as well. Slightly different components. It is described somewhere. If you really go through these, it is described much better somewhere. It actually made there's somewhere in here that it describes it really well, like what exactly defines it being an actor. Looking at this, it was probably going through the code. It will become apparent later, but components can be added to them. There is a subtle difference somewhere. I think we'll come to it later, because the final scene of the final section of this, playing and simulating. So play and editor. To be fair, I've not done this till I want to do this next time I plug it in and actually look at the actual engine. I want to see it running. So you know, you press play and it goes to your camera. If you're in Unity, like you switch to game mode and you suddenly see everything through the camera. Source control. Here we go. The final section. This is, you know, totally it. If you're from a Unity background, moving to Unreal Engine, you know, you got the this section, Unreal Engine for Unity developers. So totally just go through this. It's some of it is new. I mean, it's just describing the terms that are used. I spent some time going through this earlier. I don't want to just read it to you now, but you know, the crux, if you're totally new to it like I am, understanding the basics, probably the best section so far. But then right at the end of it, I mean, all these things like world partition, etc., you know, new concepts. Unreal Engine for Unity developers. So here we go. I mean, editing assets. It's comparing like a Unity UE editor UE to the Unreal one. Content browser is exactly your project according to this. The inspectors like the details panel. I want to find this the other day. Outliner sounds a bit new. Outliner is kind of like hierarchy. Yeah, they've matched it with the color. Yeah, outliner is like the hierarchy. Scene is like the level viewport. So yeah, exactly this. That's the default layout. That's comparing it. Hierarchy to outliner, etc. Scene is level viewport. The inspector is details panel and the project's content browser. Yeah, and that totally makes sense when you try open up the Unreal Engine and editor. Editing assets. I didn't quite get this. Yeah, it's a material editor. It's pretty straightforward. You open the material editor. It struck me as quite a lot like a shader graph in Unity when you open that. How some of the content. Right, yeah, it is exactly what I was saying. Kind of, yeah. Game object is an actor. Okay, they're saying that themselves. Actor is a game object, but there was something else. It was almost like an actor had something else basic. I think, yeah, no, I think they're saying that actor is a game object. This is it. It's kind of like a Unity when you, I think what they're trying to say is something along the lines of a mono behavior is an actor, but they're not quite saying that. This is the way I'm thinking about things. Game object is an actor. Is an actor just a transform? That means it's a game object. But you know what it's like. Every mono behavior has, every transform has a game object. You know, the component makes it a mono behavior. I mean, it sounds like I'm getting confused myself. You know, but it's in these terms. So you got a component. I mean, is there anywhere there that it mentions mono behavior exactly? Because it does get into that when you get down to the code. I mean, if it's just saying that a game object is something, an actor is just a game object. I mean, I think of this in Unity as just a transform dropped on the screen somewhere, and that's all it's saying an actor does is monitor your you know, the actor monitors the components. I guess, yeah, it does go along those lines that it's totally gobbledygook if you don't understand Unity, but it does work along those lines, because using the game object you can then search for the components. So if I fast forward to the codey kind of stuff, that pops up. Writing code in Unreal Engine for C++ programmers. Now, this is exactly like Unity, and it explains how it is just like Unity somewhere. Components, it's when it starts searching for create, get component by class. Here we go. casting from one type to another. Unity C sharp sharp. It's not quite what I'm looking for. Accessing the game object actor. So they're becoming kind of like interchangeable from a component. So in Unity, you would see this: the component has its .game object, its parent game object, and the actor can be found in C++ by my component get owner method. Exactly like that. The get owner is the actor. It's like the game object of a component is the parent game object. It's owning game object. So that's the concept there. You can see it in Blueprint. Actually, I mean, this code makes a lot more sense to me. That's not the complete focus of what I'm trying to put across, but yeah, I mean, the blueprints look great. Actually, there's certain things that I would definitely use blueprints for as well, looking at it. So you can see my component get owner target. It looks quite an effort to get the owner just when you get your my component get the owner. But if you're working in blueprints, that's where it is, I guess, is get owner like this. Yeah, it's just the game object actor, components of the game object, components of the actor. And then accessing the reverse. Like I do this in Unity a lot. Maybe it's just the way I write Unity code. I find myself writing this kind of thing a lot. Maybe just initializing. You're trying to find the components of the game object. In Unreal, you're finding component by class. My component, are based on an actor. So you have the actor. Find component by class, more interchangeable with get component on a game object. So yeah, actors and game objects, kind of showing that's interchangeable. Component is more like a component. It even describes that the way components work. Somewhere in here, this section is how to. I wouldn't find. I don't ever write this in Unity. The find, because it's going to be really slow. I imagine it's the same in Unreal. I just don't do that myself. Although it's a function that exists. Tags. I don't use tags much. That's just me. For those kind of reasons. Raycasts. There's some. I mean, I'm looking at the really basic stuff because that's all I can get my head around at the moment. But somewhere it shows you how to create a component. We can achieve the same thing. I mean, this is a really good. This section here on the very basics is a very good introduction to the code, I think. The C++ of Unreal Engine. So from scratch means actors and spawn actors. Exactly as you would instantiate a game object. Yeah, you spawn an actor. Okay, so here's one happening. World spawn actor. Type of actor. Existing actor get class. It's based on this. So like a prefab. I mean, I don't know enough yet to say is that a prefab or to think these prefabs mentioned on this page. That would be seen as a blueprint class. So that would take us back to the blueprints. But yeah, it shows something very similar here. Instantiating game object spawning actor in code. I think that kind of spawning behavior could be seen as quite a lot like a prefab. In Unity, you're going to instantiate the game object. And here in I mean, it's got weird. It goes into scriptable objects. A U object is a scriptable object. So it's not an actor. It's not a component. It's a U object. It would, like in Unity, something you might use as a data storage. But then briefly after there, it goes into spawn actor. So that's what we're saying is an actor spawned here, existing actor, because it's an existing actor get world. That's quite interesting. It seems to be spawning it not even from a prefab. It could well be spawning it from any existing actor. Yeah, that could be in use or anything. I mean, you can, like create a clone of my actor, take any existing actor, not necessarily the prefab, and get its class. Just having the get class, in this sense, being an Unreal function, it can then spawn it at the location, rotation, and with some params. So it's getting a feel. I mean, this section here is great for I've just found looking through it, to get a feel for someone who like where I come from, and use components like this, mono behavior. I've got to the point quite a lot of it I don't even actually use mono behaviors anymore if I don't need to, which I imagine you can do in Unreal. This next bit, this is what seems to an extent, inheriting a actor makes it an actor, right? That makes it a game object. So it's a bit like you inherit mono behavior into a component. It's a bit like a actor, but this thing here, U class, also injects into it some kind of reflection of the Unreal parameters. I don't really understand at the moment. That's injected by this U class, but it's also because you're inheriting a actor. So it's kind of how it fits together, which is a bit like my component inheriting mono behavior, because behind this, which I discovered today, there is some stuff like a garbage collection actually within a actors. It seems like there's some tidy up stuff that Unreal uses so that you're not destroying stuff and you're not getting memory leaks or whatever because of these actors lying around. If you lose the scene or whatever, it's got some kind of garbage collection type stuff going on that is injected here and here, the inheritance, and also by this U class. Yep. I mean, that's about where I am at the moment. There's destroying a game object actor. Yeah, like destroy my game object, my actor destroy. You have to really get rid of it by, using the proper destroy method. That is part of being an actor, a actor class. Set lifespan, this kind of stuff. Very similar stuff. Destroy in Unity, game object, my actor, set lifespan. And here you can do it in blueprints, which is great. So this is totally the section. This if you're quite into Unity like myself, and that's it, you come into Unreal, have a flick through this, and a lot of it seems very familiar. The very same things that you're doing. One of the 3 ways to set it active. Hold on, disabling. So, it's my game object set. Well, this isn't true, is it? That's not exactly like, if that was Unity, what you would have. It's interesting that you can do this straight from an actor. That it's saying this method disables all collision components, so it goes through and finds the collision components. I mean, is that saying that my actor doesn't have a set active? Like, you can't just set it active, all of it? Or I mean, the Unity equivalent, you'd have to say get components in children, you know, get colliders in collision with non-kinematic. What's the word? What am I saying? No, it'd just be any collider. Find colliders, get collider components. You know, get components, colliders, and then disable them all. Is all done by this. Set actor enable collision. So it's interesting. it's two ways of looking at it. It's saying that in Unreal you either have to go through it really long-winded and the my actor doesn't have an on-off switch, because Unity can do that, or that you know, it's just got finer level look. It's not finer level of control really. It's interesting though. You can see how it's doing these differently there. Tick enable. Now tick is like update. So this is classically this. I mean, the difficulty, what we're saying here, Unity would, if it wasn't set active, this would be more like dot enable equals false, or yeah, or set enabled, or whatever it is. You know, when you disable a Unity game object, you're more disabling the components as well. Yeah, which is interesting as well. So it's saying these are at an actor level. Now, basically, the tick is the update section. So that's saying that you can switch on and off the tick or update for the entire actor, which I think will stop all its components. But you have to check that, because I don't know what I'm saying. I've just looked at this first time, but it seems to be suggesting that would, much like setting the game object active false on Unity, that will disable all the components. It's interesting it's broken this down. So you kind of like an update function that possibly affects everything in that game object. Which Unity is, it doesn't have that. I mean, setting active false will do that, but i.e. like the set actor hidden in game, that's what I was about to say, the object would be invisible then. So here you could have the game object visible, but switch all the updates of all components off. If that's what it's saying, you'd have to check that this actually does switch all children components tick enabled off. So that's quite interesting, that the actor seems to have more control over its components in this way, that i.e. you can segregate each one. And again, you'd have to think about the performance of that. I mean, it probably is performance enabled, that, you know, the actor has a good record of where you're not searching for its components every time it does this. It just knows and finds them and switches them on or off, or that kind of thing, and has a record of that. You could do it blueprints as well. Have a look at that. Blah 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 blah. Game tags and stuff. Then physics. Oh my gosh, let's have a look. It looks quite similar. There we go. Look, a raycast has a hit coming out of a raycast of get world. Start end ECC pawn. This was really interesting. I've not found that here, but yeah. When you get to some of these types of, is it actors, you get things like pawns and kind of like a fine control of a few things. Yeah, well, what they called it, I can't find that section right now, but it's really interesting. Like there's a type of actor, am I getting it wrong now? Actors and geometry, types of actors. Somewhere you've got a controller. I did go through this earlier. I'm trying to, where is it all? Yeah, some really interesting stuff about controllers, and pawns. It's like kind of contrasting character controllers in Unity to the controller and a character and a pawn. Pawns are all I'll probably get this wrong if I can't find the section. Something that includes all NPCs, say, so all AI control characters and the player character. Yeah, animating characters and objects. It wasn't this. That's animation. Dang, that's a really good section if you can find it. It's all in here somewhere. These are programming and scripting that we'll look at later. Probably going a bit more in depth with that. Unreal Engine reflection system. How's that all working? Things like the player start actor. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to read a bit more and come back because I've lost where that all is in here. But yeah, that's where I'd start out. If I was starting out, it's possibly foundational knowledge. No. Have a good read of this section though in the documents, honestly, because a lot of it's discussed in there. And then if, like me, quite a lot of the focus of what I'm discussing on these streams will be the move from Unreal to from Unity to Unreal, this section. So we're getting ahead of ourselves if we go into these. Yeah, just this first section, which is understanding the basics. That's a really good one for Unreal Engine for Unity developers. Anyway, I'm going to stop there and try to work out what was going on with them, where the rest of it was. All right, thanks.